I was going to just make one comment.
Yes.
I mean, that,
Mr.
and this is just the engineer trying to solve problems, is the reality is that everything point forward is pretty straightforward. It's all these wells that have already been drilled through the years, the wells that are currently drilling, existing permits. That's really where the issues are. I mean, and that's one thing we're not.
And I think we probably heard that loud and clear.
Yeah.
Commissioner Overturf, did you want to?
I was just going to make the recommendation that I think we've heard what is essentially a protest, and so, but that has perhaps subsequently been withdrawn. I think we have the information that we need on the table, and I would recommend that we move on to discussion and a vote.
Fair enough. Commissioners, any further comments or thoughts on that? So, Mr. Davenport, would that mean we would close the record?
Yeah, I think we got into testimony a little bit, so we might as well make it clear that you're closing the record and moving to deliberations.
The staff want to add anything before we do that, based on the last round of dialogue? Are you getting any frantic emails from Julie who's horrified that we're going off in these directions? Mr. Ellsworth?
Just to clarify, the one email or text she did send, she wanted to make sure that it was recognized that yes, this basin-wide order is present, but if anyone wanted to submit an order that might be a request for a commission order for something slightly different, they can come forward to do that. That avenue is still present.
Well, that's the new language that was added, I think, over the weekend, probably,
Yeah,
paragraph 10.
That'd be a good way to say it. So there are mechanisms in place to do something different, if I could say it that way, or try to say it that way.
And do you agree, Mr. Ellsworth and Ms. Stanzik, that this should be reframed as a basin-wide setback order rather than a spacing order? What's the correct terminology?
Well, yes, you're correct. That is the focus. It's asymmetric setbacks in this order. What we're presenting, that's the focus.
Mr. Rouse.
We do not have a category of order for setbacks or increased density. We have additional wells and exception locations. And generally speaking, exception locations is what covers changes in setbacks. So this would be an exception location order, technically.
So you're saying we don't have anything else we can call it?
Those are the categories that we use.
Okay, I just didn't want there to be any unintended legal significance given to what we're calling it.
Where it says type spacing up in the caption, you would say exception location. I mean, we have spacing, we have additional wells, and we have exception location. It has something to do with the mapping and tracking of orders. So you could say, draft basin-wide setback order, but the type is still going to be exception location.
After the date of this order, they'll be drilled with downhole coal density of 1 per 10, and the same thing with the surface locations, 1 per quarter.
So there are provisions in this proposed order that deal with well density.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to withdraw that comment. We'll let it.
If it's all right with you, we can change the type to either to exception location, and you can call it basin-wide spacing or basin-wide density and setback order for portions of the Piceance Basin. That would be the title of the order.
Ms. Stanzik, Mr. Ellsworth, does that sound appropriate? So what would it be? Density and setback?
Density and setback order for portions of the Piceance Basin.
Yeah,
Basin-wide.
instead of basin-wide spacing order, it would be basin-wide density and setback order.
Right.
Okay. So I guess,
But for tracking purposes up there, where it says type spacing, we'd probably call it exception location.
Stanzik, Mr. Ellsworth, does that sound
That's fine.
exception location instead of spacing?
Or the type, yes.
Under type?
That will allow whoever tracks it by the types to put it into the proper category for purposes of the map, and tracking of the orders.
It's an exception location in that our rules, 318 lowercase a and b, provide a setback.
Can you, I'm speaking to the microphone, Ms. Stanzik.
They provide the setback from lease lines.
318,
Yeah, 318 little a, little b. And it's setback between wells, setback from lease lines. So anything that we do other than that, in a way, is an exception to those basic rules. That's just one way to look at it.
in the caption, you call it, in the matter of the promulgation establishment of Piceance Basin basin-wide field rules. So does that have any relevance to this discussion?
No, that's just kind of our standard order type language for orders.
Okay, so I'm hearing staff say that if we change under type in the caption, if we change from spacing to exception location, and then if we change the title of the order to basin-wide density and setback order, everyone's comfortable with that?
I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
Okay. Sounds like we don't have anything further from staff.
Just one thing, Mr. Chair. You opened the door, so
Uh-oh.
did get a text from the director.
Good.
And the only thing is she wanted to note that this has been an ongoing dialogue since late February. And staff has been asking for data that supports or disputes that, disputes 600 since that time. And we didn't receive anything, so moved forward. She also said that she did realize that TEP was maintaining their status as a protestant, but that the technical issues would be cut back.
Fair enough. Okay. But then I heard you say that you were withdrawing your protest. Is that correct? Or
That makes
did
it
you feel like-
easier.
Did you feel like we had strong-armed you into it?
I feel like our voice was heard. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then I would suggest we close the record.
I move we close the record. Or
Second.
It's just third.
Okay, we're closing it. It's closed. Okay. Mr. Davenport, do we need a motion before we have our discussion, or?
No, you can have your discussion, and then motion, then discussion.
All right,
whatever
well,
you
then
want.
I'll just ask for commissioner comments. Commissioner Agar.
I think what I heard is that there were some concerns about existing wells, but that staff has heard that too, and that staff understands that there's probably going to potentially be some complications arising because of this order, but the data and the desire to protect correlative rights kind of outweighs some of those potential issues, which are going to be hard to quantify anyway. So sounds like right now we've heard those concerns. There's no protest right now, and I'll be voting to approve the order.
Thank you. Any others? Commissioner Hawkins.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of reiterate what Commissioner Ager said, but I do think that based on the technical evidence that we saw today, that this is an appropriate order with asymmetric elliptical drainage, 600-foot frac distances, and a 100-foot drainage radius to the north and south. I think it's a confirmation of the 10-acre density for this broad area that we should be using going forward. I like the idea of having some setback, or rather space, having surface locations identified, one per quarter, so that we can have some efficiency and development. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think there will be issues that we'll have to handle on case-by-case basis for wells that have already been drilled, but that's just part of the fact that we've already had a lot of development occur. So I'll support the order.
Any others care to comment? Okay, well, I agree with what I've just heard and with the comments of both Commissioner Hawkins and Commissioner Agar. It still comes down to me that sounds like all we're doing, I don't want to make it seem like what we're doing is not going to have any impact, but what we are doing is affecting locations, setbacks on a going forward basis, but the science is the science, regardless of whether we approve this proposed order or not. And we're going to have to deal with those issues regardless, is what I've heard. So staff recommends this order. I haven't heard any reason not to approve it. And in fact, it sounded like over the weekend, the parties got pretty close on at least how the order should read. Having in mind Tara's protest, duly noted, but I will also be voting to support the order with the naming suggestions that we heard from staff. Anybody else want to comment? Does anyone care to make a motion?
I move that we approve the order with the modifications that we've put on the type and the title as provided by staff.
Version 3 of the order as provided to us today.
Seconded.
Seconded by Commissioner Overturf. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Order is approved. Thank you for the enlightening, interesting presentation. And I hope that your concerns and our concerns don't materialize, but as Commissioner Hawkins said, if they happen, we'll deal with them.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time, commissioners.
Is that, I guess our esteemed chairman will now come back in the room, or did he vamoose?
Yes, we need to take just 30 seconds to get our two commissioners and chair back in the room. To do that, because I can go do that.
I'm sorry. I was thinking somebody was doing that, but I'll go double check.
Come back to do that. Well, that's what I was asking. Do they take off or are they still on? You're proud. Okay. So we have the boss back. You want to adjourn us?
One request. I understand we have the balance of the rulemaking. Would it be possible to get paper copies of the red line?
Yes. Do you need them tonight or can I provide them first thing in the morning?
It's not my request. I think it's Commissioner Jolly in particular. So I'm fine with what you emailed out. But
Okay.
it's up, do you want a red line copy tonight?
Would you like that tonight or in the morning?
Tonight, if possible.
Absolutely. I'll print them right now. Anyone else? Two?
I'll take mine in the morning.
Okay. And these are the new set that was just sent. Okay.
Yes, the new set
I
was
will print
just
them
sent
right
out.
now.
Okay. Thank you very well. We will entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion made by Commissioner McGowan, seconded by Commissioner Hawkins. All in favor? Aye. We'll adjourn until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you all for the time.